We are recapping the Buffalo Sabres trade deadline, and we might have a path forward. That and more coming up. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sabres Edge podcast hosted by Nickel City Mafia. Remember that if you like the content that we're producing, to drop a like, subscribe, and engage with us. Comment. We love to hear what you guys are thinking. Timmy, how are you doing?
Sam, I'm playing an away game right now. I'm out in Philadelphia for training for work. Some people love going on trips, work trips, one of those being Jake Podger on our other shows for Bills football. This guy right here, not a fan. We'd rather play a home game. So not like the Sabres, though, but I like playing my games from home. But we're in Philadelphia, Flyers territory, a little bit of enemy territory. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I was just thinking as I was watching that intro again, we could probably update that at some point. I think it's all those clips are from last year, and then I was thinking about it. Do we even have good clips from this year? I don't know, but maybe we can talk to Mike, see if that can get some new, more recent edits.
Have you had any big hits this year?
Have we had any big hits?
Has Darlene? Because most of the montage Mike created was all like Darlene hits.
Yeah, I mean, there's a tuck goal in there, the nice toe drag, but Darlene hits are fun. I'm not sure that we've had any huge hits this year. It feels like our hitting has gone down somehow, which if you told us that was going to be the case last year, but I'm sure we can pull up the exact stats on hits, but it doesn't feel like we do it a lot. And when we do it, it doesn't feel like they're big.
I feel like there's a lot more highlight hits coming out last year too. And this year, not really much. I mean, I can't go back and recall any sort of hits. So maybe somebody in the chat can let us know. But I mean, we could update it. I don't know what we can update it. Well, I guess what is the standout highlight for this season? Is it Benson's first goal?
No.
That's pretty much it.
That was a good one. Benson's first goal that's a solid piece of work from any forward, but as a first goal, that was pretty dang good.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much it. TH hasn't really has any standouts goals.
Yeah. Scoring's down for us, so what can you say?
Chat, let us know if you know of any highlights from this season that you can think of. What was that? UPL had a pretty nice save. Oh, who was it against?
Actually, if we update it, it would all just be UPL saves.
Yeah, that's the way the season's been going. So, anyways, we can keep on moving on.
As Music Melody mentions, happy Wednesday. We're recording this on a Wednesday for those of you who may have been waiting for us to post something on Tuesday. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there, our faithful followers, but yeah, here we are on a Wednesday because Timmy's work obligations. But
yeah, I actually had a work dinner last night. Director was hosting us, and you can't say no to those type of things. I wish I could, because I'm an introvert. I don't like hanging around people, especially for over 12 plus hours a day with the same people. So I would rather be here with you guys in my hotel room by myself than sitting with a bunch of people getting drunk and making a fool of themselves in front of their coworkers. That's always the best.
And you know what? There's no better thing to talk about in your free time than the Buffalo Sabres. So this is the perfect thing to do.
Yep. So that's what we're doing tonight.
So yeah, we have the trade deadline that happened. Well, we were or during the past week. That happened on Friday. We made some moves. There was one pretty big one, which, I mean, we talked about it before. We didn't want to see Middlestat go, but I don't know about you, but so far the return is looking like it's going to be pretty good. How are you feeling about Middlestat for Bowen Byram?
I was thinking the big trade was Eric Johnson for a 4th rounder.
Are you saying that's the big trade because we got a 4th for Eric, and that's surprising? Like, yeah, that was shocking. I was like, you know what? He's worth a 6th maybe, and I was content with that. But we got a 4th for him, so
yeah. I mean, I was even thinking like 7th rounder at least, but yeah, no, not to trump the Middlestat trade. So yeah, if you would have came back and asked me back when the trade happened on what was it, Wednesday, I think last week. I think it was the day after our show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't know too much about Bo Byram. I think that's how you say his last name.
Yeah.
Bowen Byram, Bo Byram. But anyways, let's Bo. All I really looked in. So I think a lot of people that were pointing out to when we first traded for him is, oh, this guy has a history of concussion issues and is always in and out of the lineup with injuries. Now, the headline reader and myself was just like, oh, great. We got another Samuelson. Our defense is just going to be in and out with injuries all the time. But I didn't really jump onto that conclusion. The inner part of me was like, well, we'll just wait it out and see. I don't know too much about the guy. Didn't look really too much into it. So I was like, but this guy, 4th overall draft pick for the Avalanche, and a lot of people were saying during the Stanley Cup run he was an integral part of that. Some even say he was their best defenseman at that point too, and they had Kel McCarr on that team. And is it Toews or Taves on that?
Taves.
Is it Taves? Yeah. I know there's someone else in the league that goes by Toews actually. So
really, I know I'm pretty sure the Chicago guy was also Taves.
Yeah, they're both Taves, but I thought. Anyways, not to get sidetracked. So, yeah. So at first I was like, okay. The only thing I didn't like about the trade on that Wednesday was the team, even though you traded a 25-year-old or 24-year-old, you still managed to get younger with the 22-year-old. And I think we were having conversations before the trade deadline where we're like, maybe we can try to get a little bit older. If you're going to trade Casey Middlestat, maybe get a little bit more of I don't know if you would say established player or veteran player, but
I was just thinking like a 24 to 27-year-old, like kind of in the like younger. They're not like Jeff Skinner's where they're kind of past their prime,
exactly.
But they're still not like they're still within our kind of core's time frame. You got Tage Thompson, you got Rasmus Dahlin, and you got Casey Middlestat, who's 25 and kind of in the thick of that.
Yeah.
And you got younger, and that was maybe not exactly what we needed, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm thinking that it's looked pretty positive for Bo.
Yeah. So he's definitely been the best player on the ice so far since he's joined the team. Well, maybe besides UPL. But counting out goalies, he's clearly, it almost looks like he's a little bit a step above some of the players when it comes to reading the game, reading the ice, getting into positions where to get open and trying to get guys to get open as well. I don't know. I mean, he comes from a Stanley Cup team, a high pedigree team, and he's got a nice coach over there that maybe coaches these guys up. So, hopefully he continues this ride. Maybe other guys will pick up on this. But no, I'm excited. I mean, now that he's kind of showing he's producing for the team, clearly hindsight 2020. And it's been a good trade for the Sabres so far, and I hope it continues on this way. What were your thoughts overall with him?
So yeah, mostly the same things. It's very positive thus far. Obviously, you want to see what he does down the stretch over a span that's more than just 3 games. But it's been encouraging, and I think that having him and Dahlin at the same time is just an absolute cheat code. And if Owen Power can figure it out and he can play 20 minutes after they're 30, like you're going to have just star-studded defense for the foreseeable future. So I'm happy with it. Yeah. And hey, Mike, it's nice to see you. He'll have to catch the replay. Got to get read for a rush hour show. Love Byram. Yep, it's we're obviously going to have a great show tonight, so you're going to want to catch this one later. But yeah, love Byram as well. It seems to be the general sentiment so far.
Yeah. Do you think he's our future number 2?
I think that it's at this point, I don't see why you wouldn't pair him with Dahlin and then just go with Power and whoever else on your second line. If Power can figure it out, I'm just like, I know I just said it a second ago, but if Power can figure it out, your defense is just absolutely set. It doesn't even matter who you put him with if he lives up to what his pre-draft type was set at. So,
yeah. I mean, I found it kind of interesting that Kevin Adams mentioned like throughout the season that he's been looking for a D. Even mentioned even before the season too, which is kind of like, you signed Clifton Johnson, and now
every fan for the longest time has kind of dogged on Adams. At least for the most like recent 2 or 3 years, have dogged on Adams for kind of complacency. You have these holes in your lineup, and why isn't Adams filling them? We've talked about this a little bit before. Fill them with who? Fill them with who? Because to be honest, in the offseason, Eric Johnson and Connor Clifton didn't seem like a bad idea. And they were people you could actually acquire. Yeah, there was rumors about Noah Hannafin, but there was always the talk of what do you have to give up? And before the season, we were talking about Savoy and how you maybe don't want to do that. Now, our hearts have shifted a little bit with Savoy, and maybe we would let go of him quicker than we did at the beginning of the season. But live and learn. We didn't know that at the time. We didn't feel that way at the time. What do you have to give up? And the answer is Casey Middlestat, but Kevin Adams was looking for the defenseman that whole time. And I think he even said something about he was like trying to fill a goalie position. And like, if you look around at the goalie market, who were you supposed to get?
I don't even know.
The most common thing was John Gibson for us. People were saying, why don't we trade for John Gibson? Well, again, what do you have to give up?
You wanted last night. You see that?
What?
The Chicago Ducks.
Oh, yeah. He was trying to fight Mrazek. Honestly, I would have loved to have seen that fight. Unfortunately, the refs said no fun, but there's probably some more around the league stuff that we can get into later. Because there is some interesting stuff that happened. But, yeah, in that instance, refs said no fun. And Sabres said we're not trading for John Gibson because the price was probably too high.
I don't want him anyways.
Yeah.
Why would you want him at this point? I understand having a veteran goaltender, but, UPL is playing well. I mean,
at this point. But at the start of the season, we were going in with Devin Levi, who, rookie goaltender, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who, never had proved anything up till that point. Now he has, and we know that. But at the time, it kind of made sense. It just probably would have cost more than you would have liked.
Yeah. But there were even mentions before the trade deadline in January that they're still looking, I think it was Andrew Peters that brought up that they're still looking for a goaltender, and Gibson was a guy that they're looking at. So, I mean, at this point, I think we both mentioned we're good. The Sabres don't really need a veteran goaltender. I mean, if you want to keep Levi down another year in the AHL, I know some people are not for that opinion, but, if you're going to have UPL starting next year, you're not going to really have a goalie. Well, if you have a goalie battle and UPL wins out again, then I would rather see Levi down in the AHL just to get more starting experience, and then
I don't see why you couldn't do like 52-30 with them next year, because Levi's doing great in the AHL right now, and honestly, at some point he will merit. This year he's merited a call up, and Luukkonen's been playing great in that, and that's probably why he hasn't gotten it. If Luukkonen was falling, I don't think you give it to Comrie. I honestly think if Luukkonen were playing poorly, it's Levi's net right now. I don't think it's Comrie's. It skips over him. So next year, if They go, if the Amherst go on a run this year and they make the playoffs on Lukanen's or Levi's back and they make it deep, like he's proven that he can do it at that level.
Yeah.
And so it's time to see what he can do, maybe as a backup. Don't give him the starter's load like we did at the start of this year. Give him the backup load. Say, hey, you have to understand that we have an NHL goalie right now, and you're not just going to be the starter just because we want you to be the future starter. You're going to have to earn it, and that's through the role of a backup. But we're not going to play you like 12 games the whole year like we would have, or like we were doing with Comrie right now, where he's had like 2 games since January. So
yeah, no, I agree, and it's just all dependent on the mindset of the, Kevin Adams and Granato. If Granato's still the coach, next season, if what they want to do with Levi, do they want him just playing consistently again, or they want him backing up? You'll never know with these guys. But yeah, we can get over the goalie talk. There's no goalie trades. Well, a goalie trade did happen. It was a Devin in the AHL, but it was not the Devin that everyone was thinking.
Yeah, I saw the Amerks post like, "Thank you, Devin," and I was like,
"That's terrible."
That was a terrible post. Like, I hope whoever posted that got reprimanded, because that was an awful joke. You're gonna just that
actually traded Devin Levi. Oh, that would have been bad. But yeah, he got Devin Cooley got traded for AHL defenseman. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
you won't be guy up with the Sabres.
Yeah, and while we're finishing out the trades, we had Eric Johnson, as you mentioned, he gets traded to Philadelphia for a 4th-round pick, and then we had our my captain, Kyle Okposo, get traded to Florida for a conditional 7th, which becomes a 5th if they win the cup, and a AHL defenseman who's 24 and realistically will never see our lineup.
Yeah. I was actually kind of surprised by that Okposo trade. Surprised in the return, like a conditional 7th and a AHL defenseman. I thought maybe he would warrant it a little bit more than Eric Johnson, just because he's a captain or whatever. But,
right.
I think overall, like Kevin Adams was crying over trading Okposo in the press conference, which, I mean, that's a little wild. I mean, I respect Oki. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for sticking it out. Well, you had a guaranteed contract, but thanks for sticking it out with the Sabres. But you never led us to the playoffs, man. So, it's like, I hope, hey, you're on a loaded team now. I hope the best for you. But yeah, I'm not really like that. Not too sad to see Okposo go. I'm not gonna cry like Kevin Adams did, but all right, yeah.
Listen, like, for the future of our team, it's right to let him go. He's not that. He's no longer the player he was, and he never will be. But it seems like everyone loved the dude. He was a real heart and soul kind of guy. He led by example, and there is value to that. But what we need right now in our locker room is probably just to hand it over to the next guard and say, you know what? Like, you guys are the future of this team, and the future is now. Take hold of it, and let's go. Giddy up. So I think it's the right move all around, and I get why you'd be sad. It is a little weird that he was crying about it. How do you feel? I know this is a kind of point of contention. People aren't exactly on the same page about this. You said that you think that Kyle Okposo was worth more. Kevin Adams said that he was doing right by Kyle and could have gotten more for him, but was doing right by him by saying, like, basically letting him pick where he wanted to end up.
I don't have any problem with that. Sabres are just a dog shit organization. You haven't won you haven't gotten to the playoffs in 13 years. So, I mean, Okposo, I'm sure he could have got offers to go somewhere else during the offseason last year, maybe to be as a veteran guy for, I don't know, let's just say the Boston Bruins, be a 4th liner there. He decided to stick it out with the Sabres, which there was momentum going into the season, but I think you and I discussed at the beginning of the season, the team was at most a playoff team, battling for a playoff spot. But they were never going to be contending for the cup this year. So
Yeah.
So I give him props for sticking it out. And yeah, I mean, Okposo, besides Girgensons, has been on the team for a long time, and I'm sure we'll talk about the Girgensons conversation too that Kevin App said. And he's been on the team for a long time. Like you said, he's earned the respect of the room. He was the veteran guy for a young team. Now, he didn't really show the team how to win, but I think when there's some guys that just earn respect of the general manager and have respect around the league because Okposo does have respect around the league too. I remember at the beginning of the season he had I forgot who that hit was on, but he hit someone going around the boards.
Makar.
Yeah, and then the Avalanche tried to gang up and fight him, but then some players, Makar came up and said, "I know, Oki's not that type of guy. Like he didn't try to be dirty," and he kind of told. And there's some other players on Avalanche being like, "Hey, like, no, it was a mistake. Like we're not fighting Oki here." So he's got that respect around the league, and I don't care. I mean, you're going to get a draft pick for Okposo, and this team doesn't need any more draft picks. We don't need draft picks. I'm fine. I'm fine with whatever happens.
And let's be honest, at most, it was going to be like a 3rd-round pick. It's not like you're giving up a first to get him to Florida because like we're doing right by him. Like, no, you aren't going to get that much anyway. I don't even think you would have gotten a 3rd. Like, that's probably asking too much. Probably maybe like a 4th and a 7th. I don't know, but whatever. It is what it is. I kind of do appreciate them just saying like, you know what, you meant a lot to the organization, and we're realizing like you don't have that much value. We'll just kind of let you do what you want because you've earned it at this point in your career. But
yeah, and the team has to have a good reputation too as well outside of the organization. So I mean that's a little bit of good faith showing. So if you sign another guy like an Eric Johnson next year, 1 year veteran guy, and then you're going to trade him at the deadline, type of thing. So, yeah.
Well, anyway, moving on to another topic. Do you think the Sabres will make the playoffs next year? Oh, I misread that. I thought it said this year. Do you think the Sabres make the playoffs next year? And then we can talk about this year because that was something that we intended to talk about. But
yeah, that's a great question. Music Melody. If you asked me at the beginning of this season, I would say, yeah, they're shooing. They're going to make the playoffs next year too. Next year too. Two was the word. You have the answer at goaltender now with UPL, and Levi's showing down in AHL that he's another goaltender. And when it gets into the playoffs, goaltending is what carries you. But throughout the season, it's scoring. So I want to go bring it back to the Discord chat that we have. Join, link in the description. Where I think I put it in there, where Granado made comments on why the team struggled this year. One of those reasons was Jack Quinn was out for the majority of the season. He's your second-year player. He's a second-year winger. I don't know how much of a difference Jack Quinn was going to make for this team to make the playoffs. Then he said, oh, yeah, and then the team didn't make a move for a top 9 forward. Not top 6, top 9 forward, he said. We all knew that. We all thought top 6 forward was a trade they didn't have to make, and we all knew Jack Quinn was injured back in July. So that's another thing where you're just like, oh, well, no crap. And the fact that you didn't make a move for a top 9 forward is what brought Benson onto the team. And I think you and I both can agree, like, Benson he deserves to be in the NHL, but Benson was not going to be a difference maker this year for the team at all. And he shouldn't be, and I'll be all honest with you, he shouldn't be as playing as much as he has this season so far. It's a lot on a young rookie like him. And then he also blamed it on the power play too and special teams. And as Frank the Tank from Barstool says, the incompetence of this team. I'm sorry for blowing up your ears. The incompetence of this organization is driving me insane. They say the dumbest shit every single week. I can't stand Granato anymore. I'm sorry. I said it in the chat. This guy's an idiot. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. He's an idiot. Both him and Kevin Adams are freaking idiots. I'm sorry. How many as I said when we traded for Bo Byram, they got younger. What was their car they used all this season for the team, and why they're not overcoming adversity? Well, they're too young of a team. What does Kevin Adams say after the Bo Byram trade or the trade deadline? Yeah, we're a young team, but we have a lot of experience. As in, I'm throwing my coach under the bus right now because he's not getting this team to get going. And there were some other comments where just like, oh, there's a little division between the GM and the coach right now, because the GM, Kevin Adams, he was throwing some shots at Granato, basically being like, hey, I had a team in place. This guy was, Granato, also in that same press conference where he said, well, we don't have Jack Quinn and we didn't get a top 9 forward. He also said a lot of guys had career years last year as well. And it's just like, so what was your plan? And then Kevin Adams goes, well, this team is trying to play this season, try to focus on playing more defense, playing an overall game. They're tinkering up their style of play. What does Granato say? No, we didn't make any significant changes to the way that we play hockey this year. And we're not going to do it next year, too. And you're just like, what is going on here with these two dummies that they're not on the same, like, there's something going on where they're not on the same page. And it's clear, Granato, you try to implement defense on this team at the beginning of this season. I think you even mentioned that in press conferences.
Yeah.
And then it gets to close to December, and you're like, oh, shit, like, we're not getting anything close to being competitive for a wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. We got to start playing more offense and getting back to last year's play. And they did that for a little bit, and it didn't work out. And now, I don't know, I can't describe where we're at. Are we just kind of hitting a little stride right now?
We're not hitting our stride. We're on Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen's back right now, and he's striding forward.
Yeah. So, if I've said this before, and I'll say this again. If Granato's the coach next year and he gets a full season, this team ain't going anywhere. It's not making the playoffs. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. You got to bring a new voice in. You got to bring somebody who has some sort of hockey sense, because this guy, he talks around in circles and he's just in over his head right now. And we just need to get a coach in here that kind of has some sort of plan for this team. That was a long-winded response, Sam. What do you think?
Yeah, my response is going to be much shorter, but next year, I believe it. I think that we have too much talent to be denied. And a lot of them are underperforming right now. Yeah, they overperformed 1 year, and now it feels like it's worse than it should have regressed to. I think that there's a happy medium between the two, and I do think that medium going forward probably gets you into the playoffs. If we played a little better this year, we're in the wild card hunt. We're 5 points out right now. But I think that there's... What?
We'll have that conversation later.
This conversation's up next. This guy, we're talking about next year, but we'll get to this year. But I think that there's too much talent for them to be denied for too long. There are a lot of good players and players that can perform at a much higher clip. Dylan Cousins, Tage Thompson. Tage looks like he's hurt this year. I don't know what's wrong. The other game, he was like, he scored, I think, and he was like hunched over on the bench between shifts, just clearly feeling it. And he missed a game recently. Like, he's playing through something. And I am so convinced that the moment the season is over for us, Tage will be out with undergoing a like 6-week surgery. So, or surgery with like 6-week recovery.
Just if he isn't injured, get over with now, man.
Yeah, sorry, we lost you for like just a moment there. So like I missed most of that statement. Your internet cut it for a second.
I said, Tage, if you're injured, man, stop playing through it. Get whatever needs to get done right now.
Right.
And that's my thoughts on making the playoffs this season.
Mike's thoughts on making the playoffs are that he'll believe we'll make the playoffs when they actually make the playoffs. And that's probably a fair assumption given how long it's freaking been since we've made the playoffs.
It's officially now the longest ever playoff drought in the NHL history, right?
I don't know. 15. I like not to look at that kind of news. It helps my mental state. But yeah, Mike thinks the biggest mistake is not bringing up Rusick, Kulik, Savoy, Rosine, etc., and instead playing retreads like Okposo, Gergensen, Richardson, etc. Johnson and Clifton were big mistakes too. Richardson. Did we have a Richardson this year?
Unless he means
Robinson.
Robinson, yeah, that's what he means is Robinson.
Yeah. We tried bringing some of these players up, and they did not look good. Savoy in particular, that was a tough game. And I don't dislike the idea of Johnson and Clifton at the beginning of the year, and Johnson played pretty well, and then kind of hit his plateau very quickly. Yeah, his age caught up to him. And actually, Clifton got better as the year went on, and I now really don't have an issue with him. I think he's a fine third pair guy. Yeah. Oddly enough, so has Bryson been. So, woof.
No, I agree with the Clifton thing. He got tried out as a second pair defenseman at the beginning of the season. Clearly, the guy can't do that. He didn't do that in Boston either. And he's kind of found his stride being a third line or a third pair defenseman. And that's kind of where he's going to be in his career. Now, I don't know what the going rate for a third pair defenseman is, but you're the Sabres and $3 million a year for Clifton. I mean, it's whatever. I'm fine with that. Who cares?
It is whatever.
And Bryson, I mean, take advantage of your opportunity, man, because it doesn't look like you have a future with the Sabres right now. So go out, play hard, and he's been playing solid, so I'm not going to complain about him right now. I would complain about him at the beginning of the season because I didn't want to see him in the lineup, but now I just don't. I mean, dude.
Yeah.
Try to get a contract next year.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, playoffs, let's go, says Tom. Let's talk about this year in playoffs because this is more imminent, if you will, than the future and next year and all those conversations about, the future's bright in Buffalo, we've said for 13 years. What about this year? How are you feeling about the fact that after that Detroit game, we sit 5 points out from the wild card spot? Now, mind you, teams have games in hand on us, but those teams include Detroit, who we play twice, and Washington, who we play twice, and the Islanders, who we play tomorrow. So I believe in the hunt, either like just behind us, because I'm including New Jersey. In the hunt, we have like 7 of our remaining 17 games are against teams that are in our current wild card hunt or could be.
This is a bittersweet thing for me because I want Granato gone. And I think if the Sabres make the playoff, Granato stays. And then, I mean, my question: the Sabres make the playoffs. How much does the narrative change on the Sabres and the NHL if they make the playoffs. Because I don't think it changes that much. I think it's just kind of like I mean, the team's fighting for the in the hunt last wild card spot. I mean, kind of all garbage to be honest with you. So yeah, you made the playoffs, but your whole team is just having a down year, and your goaltender is the one that carried you through the second half of the season. I don't know. Do you think the narrative changes on the Sabres if they make the playoffs? I personally don't think it does.
Oddly enough, I think it does. Not because it's right that the narrative should change, but because we'll just be so blinded by the fact that, oh my God, we freaking made the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't want
that. It's just the euphoria will take over. Kevin Adams and Don Granato re-signed for 10 years each. Yeah, no, obviously that's not realistic. That's not going to happen. But there will be a certain level of just euphoria that just breaks through, and it's like, you know what? The year sucked. We know that the year sucked. We've been angry about it for, October through March.
Yeah.
The only thing that we've had positive to say is that Luukkonen has looked good, and that only started in January. We've only been saying that since January. If we make the playoffs now, yeah, we're going to have a little bit of like blinders on. It's going to be nice. We're going to be like, this is great, and we'll be able to overlook it. And if we win a round, we'll overlook the whole thing. There's no. There is no way that this Buffalo market, which has been starving for so long, could look at their coach and GM combo that actually made it into the playoffs and be like, we need to imminently change something because this isn't working. Obviously, 3 weeks into the season, we'll have those conversations again next year. But right now, if you make the playoffs, I think that the Buffalo market will just be ecstatic and nothing else. I think it's a small win, but we need it. And I think importantly for the players, they need to experience what playoff hockey is before they really mature, because we've talked about this, right? This is a maturing group right now. Even if you don't want to pull their young team, that's why they're losing. They are still maturing. And the bottom line is, like you said, even if they made the playoffs this year, I guess I said this too, even if they made the playoffs this year, they're not a cup contender. More importantly than anything this year is if you can get playoff experience, that's great. That's awesome. This year's a win because guess what? We satisfied the thing or the condition that we set at the very beginning of the year. And if that happens, this whole year wasn't a loss. So, yeah, I do think that it would kind of put a little bit of blinder up. And I'd be like, you know what? A little bit forgiven. I haven't seen playoff hockey since I was like 9. So barely even remember it.
No, I agree with everything that you said. Playoff experience is important for this team. This team needs a win. This organization does need a win. It would just feel fluky to me. It would just feel so fluky to me. That's my issue. I mean, we have good players. We've gotten better on defense. We have 2 goaltenders now. This team is primed to become a dynasty team. I'm going to say that right now. It is primed to become a dynasty team. Now, you got to make some changes this offseason. I'm going to make one quick aside. You got to try to get Jeff Skinner off this team this offseason. I'm being serious. Yeah. Get him out of here.
Again, love the guy. He's not a guy that you can win with on that contract.
And now he's playing. Now he's getting dropped down to the 3rd line, 4th line. He just looks. I mean, he just does not like. Yeah, he doesn't care about defense, but now it's like glaring. Like this guy, even when he's getting bumped down, doesn't care about defense at all. Still, so he's kind of pulling an Olofsson from last year. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, if the Sabres made the playoffs this year, like I said, it would just be a little fluky. and they're going to want to continue on with this. They're going to pull the same thing that they did this offseason. Bring back the gang. Gergensons. Kevin Adams is already talking about continue on getting Gergensons on a 2-year, 3-year deal.
I think when he said Gergensen continuing on, I think he was more referring to he's got more of a career to play out. Whereas Kyle, like, I think after this year, he might retire.
Yeah. But him saying that, I mean, he wants Gergensons back on this team.
Perhaps. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, would I be happy and excited for the Sabres to make the playoffs? I mean, of course. I am a Sabres fan down in my heart, even though I'm very critical of the team. But I've said this multiple times, and I've already said this multiple times. The team needs a drastic change this offseason to become a serious contender. Because they're not, as they say on the NHL Reddit, is Buffalo a serious franchise? And you got to question that because you don't the things that they say. Like I was going off about Kevin Adams and Granato just saying different things, and then Terry Bagula just like signing these guys to 3-year contracts after just having a season where they just missed the playoffs. Like, why did the coach and GM get another extension after that? Just because, they did good enough to like, okay, like, yeah, they were better than Kruger and all these other clowns that showed up here. You gotta expect better. When I look at the Sabres, I want them to be a Class A organization. Act like that sometimes. Pugula was like that when he first bought the Sabres. He was like, this team, I expect them to make the playoffs. Yeah, I'm going to do some. I mean, his first offseason was kind of crazy. He signed some shitty contracts. He also forced the hand of Jason Botterill to sign Jeff Skinner. So that's another thing, too. But I don't know. You got to expect more from this team, and they got to get. They need. I think they need to get a serious coach. That's all I'm going to put out there. They got to get a serious coach at this point.
Okay, but I've kind of been laughing at this comment for a moment now because we both just kind of went on tangents that didn't answer the question. Just kind of yes or no, because I know how you feel about what would happen if they made the playoffs. Do you think they make it this year?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. That's fair.
Sam?
I am of the opinion that there's a condition, but if we win the next 2 games, those being games against the Islanders and Detroit respectively, we're going to make the playoffs. I think if you finish out these next 2 games and they're both regulation wins, we are primed to kind of hit that wild card spot. We'll have pushed Detroit kind of far enough down and made up a lot of ground on them, and we will have won games and also won a game against the Islanders, and they're probably the biggest threat right now. I don't really fear like the Devils, and we've got 2 games against Washington, which that could make or break us. But I think if we win the next 2 games, we have a very serious shot. And so I'm going to say if that happens, yeah, I think we might make the playoffs.
I look so excited right now, don't I? Everybody?
You look so excited. You definitely have the same belief that I do. You're definitely sitting there like, yeah, we're going to make the playoffs. Definitely not looking at me thinking I'm an idiot for believing that, but it is what it is.
I don't think you're an idiot for believing that. I stated my case, and that's all. It's a double-edged sword.
You didn't state your case for what you believe. You stated your case for what you don't want to happen if we make the playoffs. I'm not saying I don't agree with you there. I'm just saying that if we win the next 2 games, I think we might actually make the playoffs. As ridiculous as it is, I know we've been behind the whole season.
They're not making the playoffs. This team has a track record. They're flying high right now. They're going to lose the juice and they're going to crash. That's why I'm saying no. This team is on a hot streak right now, but they're going to collapse. Guarantee it.
If we ride the best goaltending in the league up until the day that the season ends, and we win the key games,
gotta score.
Yeah.
I know they scored last night.
How about 7?
Let me tell you something.
7 sounds great.
What happens after the game? After the games that they score high goals, they come back and get shut out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially against a defensively staunch Islanders team, and they're pretty hot under their new coach. It doesn't matter though. We absolutely win. We beat the Islanders. It's fine. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna cheer just loud enough where the team gets my energy. This is a good question. What do we get if we make it? Maybe a challenge for you guys. I believe that we agreed that if we did make the playoffs this year, we do every subsequent stream for the rest of the year in bags. And you can see I got my little guy there actually. He's got his hat on. He's got his gloves on. So he's
sign him to the team. Maybe he'll be the enforcer for the team.
Yeah.
You think he can stand up against Matt Martin?
He'd get his face caved in quite easily. But yeah, so if we've already agreed that if we did make the playoffs, because this was back when it seemed very unachievable. Now, like, you map it, there's a path forward. It's a hard path. We have the hardest schedule remaining, or one of them. Yeah. It's a hard path, but you do see a way that it happens. Like, it is possible to do it kind of by our own. Like, we wouldn't even need too much crazy luck on kind of the other team's parts. We don't need them to drop the way that Detroit did anymore, because we face so many of those teams in the upcoming stretch. So yeah, we have a path forward, and now it seems realistic, or at least possible. So it's looking dumber now that we made that agreement that we'd wear those bags, but
they still got a West Coast trip though, right?
Yeah, we still have a West Coast trip. And one of those games is against Seattle, which we haven't beaten yet. So
all right.
But speaking of West Coast, and more importantly, around the league, have you been watching hockey that isn't the Sabres recently?
I've been paying attention, yes.
There are some fun things happening around the league right now, and it's just not happening in our backyard. I guess the most recent game was fun, but other than that, it's been kind of a dull week for us.
I mean, the Oilers game, though.
That was a very good game. It was still kind of boring, except for the last part. But we'll get to that. We'll get to our games. But did you see the Wild game? I believe it was Wild versus the Predators. Do you know what happened in the Wild game?
I don't.
So it's overtime. The Wild are trying to get as many points as possible. They're trying to climb back into a wild card spot, overtake the Vegas Golden Knights, very evil team. And they decide to pull their goalie with a minute and a half left in overtime to get a 4-on-3.
Love that.
They end up scoring on that 4-on-3, and after the fact, millions of NHL fans learned a new rule. And it's that if you get scored on in overtime while your goalie is pulled, and it's not like on a delayed penalty, then you actually forfeit your loser point.
Wow.
So there's a lot of discussion going on right now about whether or not with the hindsight of that, like knowing that rule, if that was a good move for them. But they did it. They got the 2 points. It was an aggressive play, and it was honestly just awesome. It was awesome to watch just for the game of hockey, like people experimenting and trying new things, because apparently that hasn't been seen in 20 years. So
I mean, I love being aggressive. I love when coaches pull the goalie with like 4 minutes left to try to get a goal to, even it out and get heading into overtime. I always believe that's the one thing about the Sabres too. The Sabres don't know when to pull their goaltender. It's like it's a joke.
Yeah. Luukkonen is always caught in limbo. I think also that they do a terrible job when they know that they have to pull the goaltender. Like, for some reason, the zone entries just always choke. And then Luukkonen does the little shimmy forward and back. Yeah, we know they can't do zone entries that well. It's, kind of just a known thing. But
what do you think the idea of a 3-2-1 point system, though?
Oh, I've been on board for the 3-2-1 point system since I started watching hockey, because it just makes sense. If you take it into overtime, then you didn't just outright win the game. You don't deserve the full amount of points, and especially even extra points being given out during a game. Now you've just added random points in random games, and it just makes the whole system kind of wishy-washy. It would also incentivize people winning in regulation. No more of that kind of just defensive-minded, we just write it out. We get the point. We write it out. Whatever. Yeah. No, take your win. Go for it. It makes the game so much more fun when there's drama at the end of a period, at the end of a game. And just the kind of different tactics that you'd see emerge would be far more offensive-minded, and that's good for the game. Offense is good for the game. So I think that the 3-2-1 point system is just better in general. And for those who don't know what that is, that's you win the game in regulation, you get 3 points. You take it to overtime or shootout, and you win, you get 2 points. And if you lose in overtime and shootout, you get 1 point. That way, 3 points are distributed every game, regardless of the score or outcome. And I just think that's a better way to do it.
100% agree. I have nothing else to add to what you just said. So agree with everything that you said there, Sam. Well said.
Thank you. Anyway, moving to a different team from around the league. Did you see because we've talked about whether or not we'd want Tortorella on our team as our coach before. Did you see the drama involving John Tortorella?
I mean, I've been kind of out of it at this training, so you got.
This is fine because now I can explain this to you. So, John Tortorella, and I don't think I've ever seen this before. It's a lot of firsts for me in the modern NHL happening. John Tortorella recently got, I think it was either a 2 or a 4 game suspension as the coach. And what he did was he was given a bench minor and game misconduct. So he's thrown out of a game. And instead of leaving, he just basically stood there being like, I'm not fucking leaving for 3 minutes. It was great. Honestly, it was classic Tortorella. And it was, it was against Tampa Bay. In that game, they were celebrating the cup win that he had while he was in Tampa Bay. And so there was there was a bunch of,
old-time players,
his former players, in the boxes, just laughing at him. And I'm sure they were just this is such a Tortorella moment. And you know what? It was maybe an all-time Tortorella moment, because I can't remember the last time that the league has looked at a situation and been like, yeah, I think we need to suspend the coach for games. But that was really kind of.
How many games were you suspended for?
It was 2 or 4. I'm not entirely sure. I think Matt Rempe got suspended for 4, and that might be why I have that on my mind. Because, he's kind of a hot topic right now. But I'm sure I can look this up. But, yeah, I mean.
That's harsh. For not leaving a game, you get to lose at least 2 games, as you're saying?
Yeah. I think that it's but good for Tortorella, honestly. Sticking up, because I kind of agree with him. The calls that were made were kind of terrible. And so it's fun to see him just freak out, rightfully so. And you don't see that out of our coach. You don't see that kind of emotion that's just been something that's been missing.
You're going to my side.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Tortorella in general, but shows I've been a proponent of show some emotion, show that you care. And as a coach, it trickles down from you, right? You are the person who the players look to on the bench and they say, this is the tone that's being set. This is what I need to step to. And if your coach isn't willing to go to bat like that for your guys, why would they go to bat like that for you? So I don't think that it's needs to be Tortorella for us, but I like that act of just being like, hey, refs, what the heck? Like, you're terrible at this, and our team is like at a loss because of you actively. And then he gets suspended and fined, but I like it. I do like it.
Lights a fire underneath your team.
Exactly.
That's all you need. And, the Sabres need someone to light a fire underneath them. So, but yeah, I saw just to pop back on what we were talking about the pulled goaltender. I'm pretty sure the goaltender needs to be on the bench.
Yep. If the goalie is actively on the ice, the goalie is not pulled. They are a skater at the moment. Maybe they have to be on their half, because I know that there's rules where the goalie can't play it past half, and in overtime your bench would be on the other side of half. So like maybe if someone was shooting the puck down the ice and you're like, shoot, let's just switch a player for the goalie right now so we don't lose the point. But I don't really see that happening anyway. If the puck is shot, most likely you don't have time to, like, especially if it's like recovered and shot from the zone, you don't have time to like get a guy to the bench real quick. But
plus, with the 3-on-3 overtime, the player has better control with the puck too. So you can wait out for your goaltender to get on the bench anyway. So yeah, I feel like pulling a goaltender in overtime is a lot easier than actually in the regular time.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, Mike, because we talked trash about the referees of the NHL. Expect this channel to receive a huge fine and suspension. So, or I guess we supported John Tortorella. Expect that. I'm trying to find how many games you have suspended.
I like torts.
Yeah, I know you like torts. 2-game suspension. Okay. Got that out of the way.
I played hard for him.
I'm sure you would, given the opportunity. Anyway, so kind of got around the league. We talked about our future, but we haven't gone over the games this past week or what's upcoming for the week. So in the past week, because we also had Tuesday, we had 4 games, and those included the Maple Leafs, which was a 2-1 loss, but in overtime, so we get a point there. Then we go against the Predators. That was Bo Byram's first game, and he gets, I believe it was 2 points. And that's a 4-2 loss. Then in the Oilers game, we had that thriller of an overtime. Ends with 2 seconds left with Owen Power scoring the game-winning goal. Everyone's leaving. It's a great game. We're doing the 3 stars of the game. People are coming out, or like the 3 stars are coming out onto the ice. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, just so you guys know, that last goal was offsides. We got to continue playing. They set back the clock. We get back into the game. And it was a thriller, but we end up winning it again in overtime, or in the shootout, sorry. And Lucan improved himself against McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and Leon Draisaitl. So Lukanen showing that he can pull off wins in the shootout. He is becoming quite the well-rounded goalie. That was a very good look for us. We played well in that game too, but that was kind of just a weird one and a fun one, having won twice. It looks like we've lost Timmy, so I'm going to work on the assumption that he's not going to be back. And then we face the Red Wings, and that was kind of a blowout. We started the period 4-1 and actually had an extra goal called off during that game. During that period. So it could have been 5-1 in the first period alone. And welcome back, Timmy. But yeah, it could have been 5-1 in the first period of the Red Wings game. And honestly, after that, it was just kind of more mellow. They knew they had lost. They ran Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen a couple of times, and I would have liked to see a little more kickback from them when that happened. But honestly, it was kind of whatever. Like, he wasn't ran that hard, it seemed. And he also has a tendency to flop, which kind of funny. I've seen it before. I know he does this. Obviously, you still wanna stick up for your goaltender. But if I were my team, I'd be a little like, are you flopping? I don't know. Are you just trying to get us the power play? Because if you're trying to get us the power play and then I fight someone, now like didn't get anything out of it. But whatever. And then Gergensons also did do a pretty dirty cross check later on one of the guys who did run into Luukkonen. So it's kind of balanced out a little bit there. But that was all in all very good game for us. And especially it sets the tone because we're going to face them on Saturday. But that was 4 games this week. We went 2-1-1. Timmy, how'd you feel overall about those games? Or if you wanted to talk about anything specific through them, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah. I think overcoming and winning in overtime against the Oilers kind of showed something. Like you said, it's a boring game, but they had that overtime winner that got called back on power, which is devastating. But they came back to win in the shootout. No, I mean I'm happy for the team that they're winning. To come back and play against the Red Wings, who for most of the season we were kind of like, wow. I think we talked at the beginning of the season that I think between Ottawa, the Sabres, and the Red Wings, I think we both thought the Red Wings were going to be like the one that was going to be left behind.
Yeah. In fairness, no one expected us and Ottawa to implode.
Yeah. So, they've had a decent season, and then, I still think the Sabres are overall a better team talent-wise. And within the future going forward, they're going to be a better team. So to get that win against them, it feels good. It feels good, especially when, Patty Kane chose the Red Wings over us. If you're someone that holds a grudge on that. I really don't care. But I know there's some fans out there that are still just like, oh, wow, he chose them over us. No, overall, it's good. I mean, it's nice to see, I think the biggest thing was just seeing Bo Byram out there and the way that he plays, and I think him getting the opportunity to be a top pair defenseman, he's taking advantage of it. I mean, the guy right now looks like the real deal, and it's a win-win for both the Sabres and Avalanche in that player-for-player trade. So, no, overall, everything's looking good. We'll see if that continues on next week, as I always say.
Yeah. Do you have talking about Bo and Byram? Do you have 3 stars for us this week?
Yeah. So I think 2 of them are pretty clear. I'm going to ride that UPL train as one of my stars. I'm going to give him the number 2 star on that. So he'll be number 2. Number 1 is going to be Bo Byram. I think that it all speaks for themselves. Everyone knows what's going on. Bo Byram, point streak right now with the Sabres, UPL, just carrying this team right now. I'm going to go back to Owen Power for that 3rd star.
Okay.
Overtime goal. And he scored a goal in that shootout too, right? So, no?
No, he didn't score that shootout goal.
Oh, shoot.
It was Tuck and Thompson.
That's right. Anyways, Owen Power's been actually, and I said this last week when I put him on the stars too, he's been playing pretty solid since he's come back from injury. He's looked a lot better than he looked at the beginning of the season. So I don't know what happened. Maybe he got a view from the ice, and like we mentioned, maybe him. And I think with the emergence of Bo Byram showing up too, it's going to help cut down his ice time as well. So it's going to allow Owen Power to develop. So he's been with the less ice time he's gotten, he's taken advantage of it. So I was almost going to go. Secondary was going to go to Zach Benson, because Benson. He had a goal and assist last game.
He had 3 points. He had 2 assists.
Yeah, so I mean, I think his goal was pretty solid too. So
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he was an honorable mention. I was between him and Power, so those are gonna be my 3 stars. Where are yours?
So I don't know if you remember this, but way back when, weeks ago now, I said something to the effect of, I'm going to give, with the way that the team is playing currently, I'm going to be giving UPL one of my 3 stars every single week until he posts a save percentage under 900.
Uh-oh.
Well, actually, he did that during the Detroit game. But that's overshadowed by the fact that he didn't need to post a great save percentage because our offense actually showed up that game.
Yeah.
But in the spirit of adhering to what I said, I'm going to give someone else a star just to mix it up again. Obviously, UPL is going to be my honorable mention because, let's be honest, the Edmonton game, that was an Ukko-Pekka win.
Yep.
And it, we maybe wouldn't be having the conversation about, we're really close to possibly making a wild card spot if you don't get those 2 points. Because we wouldn't have any points if it weren't for Ukko-Pekka during that game. And it even started off a little shaky. Those 2 goals came in the first. But yeah, that was basically all him. Good work on that one. So you get the honorable mention.
Do you know he had a twin brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just realized it this week that he had a twin brother when he was talking about the birthday. Because what game was it when he went on his birthday? Was that the Oilers game?
It may have been.
Yeah.
Probably. That was. Yeah.
Because I was going to bring it back to, his twin brother actually plays soccer, and that's probably where he gets the flopping from. Anyways, keep on going, Sam.
Of course. I'm going all defense this week. First star, obvious to anyone who's watched the games this week, Bowen Byram. He's kind of rejuvenated the way that we're playing right now. He moves so well up the ice. He has been an absolute beast paired with Rasmus Dahlin. He has 4 points, 3 goals during his 3 games that he's played with us. Excellent play. Just excellent play all around. The defense has not been great, but has not been needed because most of his shifts are spent like just absolutely ruining the other team in their zone. So all in all, love what he's brought. My second star is going to be the person he's riding with, Rasmus Dahlin. I think it's very understated because people are focusing so heavily on Bowen Byram this, Bowen Byram that. Rasmus Dahlin has looked like an absolute beast out there. He has been he's just so dominant. I don't think there's any other word other than dominant for what he's been when he's playing with Bowen Byram. Like he has had to play less ice time, which is helpful for him since Byram's arrival. And I don't know if that's what is making him so much more effective or if it's playing with Bowen Byram. They unlock each other's offense in a way that I didn't know there was another gear to it. Like it's crazy. They cycle so well together. And that's something that we talked about before earlier in the season, that they get into the zone. They maybe get like one shot and there's no cycle. They don't hem people in the zone. They don't force them to play kind of on their heels in their own zone. But with these two, it's just 100% possession. You can't do anything about it. And they can both shoot and score. They're both have great vision. It's not just they're holding on to the puck. They're dangerous with it. So those two, absolutely my top 2 spots. And then for my third star, honestly, no one really stood out too much to me. There was Greenway had a great return after being injured for the Edmonton game. During that first period against the Red Wings, he was easily like the best player. He had maybe the best shift I've seen from a Sabre all year. And it was doing cycling. We were cycling the puck. We got maybe 3 shots on net and they were very dangerous. They were real chances. It wasn't just like from the point. And he was out there. He was hounding pucks. That was a great look. Benson, like you said, Dylan Cousins has kind of returned to form recently in a very positive way, but I'm going to give it to Jacob Bryson. Okay. He's earning his keep as a third pair defenseman. He's doing everything that you'd hope he would. And for all the shit that I gave him the whole year, really, the whole year and the year before that, like you guys didn't have the last year to hear me talking about it. But my family knows, my friends know, they know how much, or they know how I feel about Bryson. And as of recently, I haven't had anything negative to say to him about him because he's doing his job as a third pair defenseman.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy that we're getting kind of that solid level of play out of him that I would not have expected going into the year.
What did you think of the move Ryan Johnson back to the Amherst?
That's fine, honestly. Because you have Bryson who's playing okay. Ryan Johnson wasn't getting that many minutes anyway. I still think Ryan Johnson's probably better, but the physicality and the speed I think was catching, and just like the amount of games he plays was catching up with him. Yeah. Like we've seen with Benson throughout the year. It's a new league. It's a new pace. It's a new schedule. Like, you have to adapt to that. And they're going to send him down. They're going to get him as many minutes as they can in the AHL, which he wasn't going to get here. They're maybe going to get a Calder playoff run, but at the end of the day, I think it's fine. I think it's kind of, for our team, like, net even, and for Ryan Johnson, good for his development. So,
yeah, no, I agree. And I think they had to get him down at that point too, because then he wouldn't qualify for the Amherst playoffs. So, I mean, if we're going to have one of our franchises make it to the playoffs and win, might as well help out the Amherst. Yeah. I wonder if, because what is Benson's junior team, Wanashita or whatever?
Winnetachi, the Winnetachi Wild.
If they were eliminated from the playoffs at that point, could the Sabres send him down to play in the AHL then? Because he didn't have an option.
Having played like the whole, I don't know what the rule is, because he played like the whole year in Buffalo. I don't know. His contract has slid, so I think he's under contract by us. Like, I think we can send them to the AHL, maybe. I'm not sure on the rules exactly. And at this point, I'm not sure we're going to know what the rules are. And I don't know if you sent him down, if he could even play in the AHL playoffs, because he wasn't down at the deadline or whatever, because there's rules about that. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Talking about the Amherst, you see that Anton Wahlberg's coming over to play for the Amherst then?
At the end of the season?
Yeah.
That'll be exciting to see. He's one of the prospects that I'd like to see, because he's kind of a bigger bodied power forward, which is not kind of the prototypical guy that we've been drafting in Savoy and Benson. And like, it's not, he's kind of the antithesis of that, but it'll be interesting to see how he plays and adapts to a North American game.
Yeah, it'll be a nice flavor change for the Sabres for once.
For sure. Just addressing the chat real quick while we have a little down moment. Mike is saying he was ready to give up on Adams, but then he made the Byram trade. I'm sure that was while we were talking about Bo Byram earlier for the 3 stars. And yeah, I think a lot of people were. And then he had that press conference where he was talking about how he had been looking for defensemen. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. You kind of have to wait for the right one. And now that we have the right one, it's encouraging. It's encouraging to see that the vision for what the top defense core is going to look like, presumably for the next 10 years.
Yeah. No, it was a good player-for-player trade. I'm glad that they didn't have to do anything more than that. So, no, looking forward to it. I think we both discussed, the Sabres' depth at defense is kind of surprisingly low, and now you just got younger, and now you have – how many first-round picks is that on your defense? Because you got Dahlin, Power, Samuelson was a first-round pick, right?
Was Samuelson a first-round pick or an early second? He was like right on that line.
Yeah. And then what was Ryan Johnson?
He was 32 or 31. He was, because that was the cup-winning St. Louis Blues.
So that's – hold on. I'm getting tired. That's a first-round pick.
That's a first-round pick.
That's a lot of first-round picks going to be on your defense. I don't know where Clifton was picked, so yeah.
I don't think Clifton was a first-round pick.
Yeah, me either.
Anyway, poor Clifton. He's
after we praised him.
Yeah, he's just catching strays.
Threw a rock at him.
Anywho, so looking forward, we have some games being played this week, as most weeks. Tomorrow, we have the Islanders, and they're in Buffalo. Yeah, they're in Buffalo. Yeah. The Islanders in Buffalo. I don't know why I didn't know that. I'm going to that game. Look for me on the broadcast.
That's when I was like, yeah, they're home. You just said you were going to the game.
Yeah. Listen. My brain is trying to keep up. It's been a kind of late stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to that game. Very exciting. And then we have the Red Wings, and we're away, and that's on Saturday, and that's a 12:30 game. So if you're looking to watch that game, be aware of the time. Those are the two games I said are need to win. We talked about this earlier. We win those two games, you set yourself up to have a very legitimate chance at that wild card spot. And then we have one more game that week, and these are your favorites, 10 p.m. in Seattle. So that's, we haven't been in Seattle yet. It's a 10 p.m. game. That's kind of tough for us Eastern time watchers. And technically there's a game on Tuesday when we broadcast, but it's also 10 p.m. So it will be immediately after the broadcast. We're basically pregame for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are you looking to see this week? What would you like to see?
3 wins, 3 regulation wins is what I want to see out of this team. Now I said, I really don't want this team making the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. Wow. Tim's contradicting himself. He does this every single show. That's why I keep on watching people.
Watch as he talks his way out of all his contradictions. You're certainly my entertainment.
This one out. No, if this team is serious about being a playoff team, which I fully support this team wanting to be a playoff team, like what did Tage Thompson, I saw it on the Reddit NHL, Tage Thompson posted an Instagram with the wild card on there, so that's their goal. They're going for the wild card.
Yep.
I mean, if you're being serious about this, like you've tried to be throughout this whole entire season, you got to get the next 3 wins. 3 wins in a row. You gotta beat Seattle. You gotta beat Seattle. I mean, they're not that good of a team.
They're not good this year, at least.
No. I mean, I think last year was a fluke for them too. Anyways, you play Detroit. That's a team standing up ahead of you. You gotta beat them. And then you have the Islanders at home. They're that team that lulls the fans to sleep.
They've been much more exciting offensively under
Patrick
Roy.
Yeah. So.
By the way, kind of a tangent, but have you heard the whistle thing?
No. What's this now?
Supposedly, Patrick Roy, when he thinks that his line has been, or like whatever line is out has been on for too long, he whistles at them. Like in, do you remember in? I don't even know what like age group it would have been. At like the lowest age group of hockey, or like Timbits or whatever it's called. Yeah, they would like blow the whistle every like minute and a half so that you're forced to do a substitution.
I always remember. You blow the whistle, time stops, and
and it's like, all right, you guys are changing. It'd be like you'd be on a breakaway, and it's like, all right, time stops, you gotta go change, and I'm like, But that's what that feels like to me. But it's still funny, you know what? He's controlling his team on a level that we don't see most coaches do, so it's certainly interesting. But they have seemed to have found some offensive touch under him. So,
well, he's a fiery guy, Patrick Wall. I mean, when you do the first thing he did in there, he back skated him his first practice with him. So, he coached the Avalanche, right? That was his first NHL team that he coached.
I believe he coached the Avalanche, and then I don't know if he coached anyone since. He was in the minors for a while.
Yeah. No, that's what you're getting out of Patrick Wall. The guy's he's a former goalie. He's a lunatic. He's a micromanager. And that's why we all love him. So, no, it should be interesting. I mean, that's the whole whistle thing. That's a new idea I've never heard of.
Yeah. Apparently, you could hear it on one of the broadcasts because, like, the ice level mic was a little higher, and so you could just hear every couple of minutes just the whistle. I thought that was really funny.
So then tomorrow night's game is the MSG game. So you're going to hear it on Ray's mic. So we're going to hear it pretty well.
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, there's still, the Islanders, they'll beat the Islanders. I'm just going to say that. But who's their offense on that team? I don't even know.
Matt Barzal, JG Peugeot.
Yeah.
Hold on. I can at least name one more. Surely they have one more. I'm lost. Yeah. Matt Barzal, JG Peugeot, and even JG Peugeot is probably a third liner.
Yeah.
Bo Horvat. They got Bo Horvat.
Okay. I mean,
they have offensive defenseman Noah Dobson. But yeah.
What a weird team.
It is a weird
team the Islanders are. And they've just been weird for the longest time. Anyways.
I'm pretty sure they're the New York Ilya Sorokins, but whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we're the Buffalo Lukanins, but it is what it is.
No, three wins in a row. That's all.
Three wins in a row.
That's what I expect.
I mean, if you hit
regulation wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love for that to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we win 2 in a row.
Oh, who's more positive now at this point?
Listen, I'm sorry. There's something cursed about Seattle. I just don't know how we overcome that. We cannot win against Seattle. It's going to be the year's 2050. We finally win a game against Seattle.
Yeah.
But I think
that's
we win.
What's going to catapult us into the playoffs, Sam.
Yeah.
It's going to motivate the team.
I think we win the next 2 games, and then I honestly don't think that the Seattle game matters as much, but I would still love to see them win it.
You gotta get the monkey off your back.
Yeah, true. Just in case you ever face them in the playoffs. That would be disastrous.
Well, that would be Stanley Cup playoffs, right?
Stanley Cup Finals, baby.
Yeah.
Seattle versus Buffalo. We will be quaking.
That is the weirdest combination of teams.
Oh, yeah, that would be so bizarre. But you know what? If it means we're in the Stanley Cup Final, I wouldn't dislike it.
Imagine a Kraken versus a Buffalo. Or no, it's a saber, so a saber's just a sword. So you got a pirate squid.
What can you say?
What a combo. Anyways, keep going. My brain's going crazy.
I mean that was it. That's the end of the week. You get to the Seattle game, then we're doing pregame against or before the Vancouver, and that's one of the better teams in the NHL. Again, difficult schedule upcoming, but
did Vancouver make no? What was Vancouver made moves earlier in the season because they got Zadorov, but they didn't make any moves at the trade deadline, right?
I don't know. They didn't make any of the massive moves the way that some other teams did. But
what did you think? What do you think were the biggest trades at the trade deadline? Just to talk about around the NHL before we end.
Some of the bigger trades during the deadline. I like the Tarasenko. He's old. He's not what he used to be. In theory, that's kind of a big move, but he's not the same guy he once was. I really like the Toffoli pickup by, I believe it was Winnipeg.
Yep.
Something cap circumvention in Vegas. I'm sure you guys have all heard, anyone who follows the league has heard someone complain about Vegas can't keep getting away with it. They're circumventing the cap. Okay, whatever. They made some big moves, but
Noah Hannafin.
Yeah, with Noah Hannafin. Honestly, that's a good pickup.
With Mark Stone and Jack Eichel being out for so long.
Yeah. They obviously weren't at the level that you'd expect from a Stanley Cup winner, but they did manage to stay competitive. So good for them. I'm sure Mark Stone will be miraculously healthy when the playoffs happen. And then they'll just be an absolute juggernaut now that they've got Hannafin and their defense is just ridiculous. But you know, I do like the pickup of Hannafin. Obviously we talked about getting Hannafin, so
I'm assuming we were on the no fly zone. Sabres no fly zone.
And can you blame the guy?
No. Well, he's best friends with Jack Eichel. I'm sure Jack Eichel is like, you don't want to go to that team. You don't want to go to that organization.
Yeah. They also picked up Mantha, I believe. So, but yeah, I really like the Toffoli pickup. I think that was kind of like under the radar, very good, especially for what it was already a very good team.
Toffoli's a big dude. If I remember watching him play, he's is he, or maybe Tarasenko is a big dude. I can't remember which one. I can always get the two confused.
I don't know, and that's kind of weird because I'm pretty sure they don't play very similarly.
I don't think they. No, I mean just size wise, they're just big dudes. I think. Because Toffoli played for the Kings, right?
Toffoli was on. He's moved around a bit. He may have been in New Jersey last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was in New Jersey last. So.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, some big moves being made at the trade deadline. Sabres, best trade.
Sabres best trade. We got a 4th round pick. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was the biggest trade we've ever made in Sabres franchise history.
Anyway, I think this feels like a good point to wrap it up. We're approaching 10 p.m. Thanks to everyone so much for watching. If you liked what we're doing here, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we're on next. There's a bunch of other great content being put onto the Nickel City Mafia YouTube channel. So go check out the other guys if you like the Bills. If you like, I believe they have kind of like an AFC East roundtable.
Yep. And
there's occasionally other shows.
A golf show.
I was like, I don't know if the golf show posts consistently, but they might.
I think they only do them for certain tournaments. I don't think they do it every week.
I watch the Bills content. I make the Sabres content.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not the biggest golf fan. Sorry, Mike. But anyway, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want to just touch on anything we talked about or ask any questions. Going forward, we make sure to try and answer them when we can. And if you want to talk to us outside of kind of YouTube, we have the Discord. It's link in the description. Did the big stitching embroidery end yet?
No, it goes actually till Sunday. They draw on Sunday. So
yeah, so you still have time to check that out. Sign up for that. All you have to do is get into the big stitching embroidery section of our Discord server and just say you'd like to be in, and you'll be entered for a chance to win $100.
I think there's only 2 people right now, so
yeah, it's pretty low. So
if you have a 1/3 chance.
Yeah, if you're watching and you're like, you know what, I'd like an opportunity at $100. It's down there. It's available. Check it out. And other than that, thank you guys so much. We will see you next week.
Adios.